Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. Today we're in for something a little different. Yep, these next two issues have a new writer on board. Mr. Angelo DiCesare, a part-time writer, had written for children's books before joining the Archie comics crew. Are his contributions to the series worth reading, or is it as forgettable as the Crown's Freedom Emeralds? Buckle up boys and girls and everyone in between, we're going to tackle Sonic the Hedgehog number 5 and number 6. Number 5's cover is yet another instance of the comic just saying, "Buy this, kids! All other comics are irrelevant except this one." Though I do rather like the fire effect, that's pretty eye-catching, even if it's just against the characters in a white void. In our first story, Olympic Trials and Errors, creative name there, Sonic is shown to love sports and showing off, which is great because he and Tails find that the evil Dr. Robotnik has set up a horrifying looking stadium. A SWAT-bot threatens them and says they're going to challenge the freedom fighters to Olympic-style games, else they'd be turned into robots if they lose. None of our heroes want to partake in the thing, it's so obviously being a trap, but Sonic's pride really wants to show everyone that he's the fastest thing alive. This competition gets the attention of Antoine and his ego, and I guess they all just decide to go there. The big bad has also revealed that he has stolen Sonic's shoes and replaced them with identical energy-draining ones. That alone could be the focus of the whole story, but let's keep going. In effect, Sonic's really at a hindrance, being super sloppy in terms of running, which is a better excuse for him partaking than those other games did. Dr. Robotnik prepares another roboticizer to get the slowed down Hedgehog, but his friends challenge him, saying they're gonna take his place. What ensues is the freedom fighters partaking in sporting events, but always falling behind. You're racing badniks and losing, what freaking pushovers. During the last event, a race against the fastest buzz bomber, Tails is able to recover Sonic's discarded shoes in the rubbish, apparently looking for junk for a sculpture. Tails, your friends are in danger, what are you doing? Meanwhile, Antoine is racing against the buzz bomber, the latter I'm pretty sure is cheating, but the blue hero arrives to save the day. Actually, instead of winning for the team and taking all the glory, Sonic causes a dust cloud that instead confuses the bee robot, and Antoine is able to ironically win. Sonic also spins into the portable robot machine, bada bing bada boom, Dr. Robotnik runs free and the freedom fighters are saved. Yay! Story 2 is rather odd. So, in the middle of Dr. Robotnik's supposed takeover and the freedom fighters sabotaging his efforts, Boomer is interested in owning an ant farm. He decides to order one from a newspaper, but whoops, it was a trap set by Robotnik. So he sends over a package held by a postman SWAT bot, and that's how he'll deal with the freedom fighters. Okay. So he knows the secret location of Knothole, but why send them killer ants instead of just, I don't know, a bomb? The killer ant starts giving the freedom fighters trouble by eating all their stuff, and they don't know what to do, but they are able to determine that it is a termite-nator. The pun of which is so surprising it turns Boomer's muzzle purple. The thing seems to get bigger and bigger after chomping down wood, which the freedom fighters now realise is a bad thing considering what it can do to the forest. So Sonic decides to go off over to the kitchen and bake 4 dozen eggs to make something out of a hollow log. The termite-nator eats it and is incapacitated somehow, due to it containing Sally's pancake batter. Oh, it's a bad cooking joke. I thought we were over these. As per the norm at this point, the heroes are able to give Robotnik a taste of his own medicine, this time by sending termite-nator back and causing a ruckus over there instead. All in good fun, I guess. The story is knee-deep in jokey, self-contained writing once again. I figured having a different writer on the team would change that, but I suppose like Gallagher before him, Angelo had to go for the same Dr. Robotnik makes threat, freedom fighters defeat threat, and send it back to Robotnik formula. The humour here is a tad lacking too. There are corny jokes through the roof, don't get me wrong, but there aren't any woven into the background art or cleverly interjected into the dialogue this time. We just get a thing named after the Terminator, and a couple of the jokes in the Olympic story were really weak as well. So many leaps of logic too, why would the freedom fighters even partake in Robotnik's Olympics? And this doofus, ruler of 99.9% of the planet, just resorts to sending a wood-eating macho termite at his enemies? Ugh. In this issue, the story gets a 1. Dave Manak's art is still cartoony and expressive, but I don't think even that saves this issue from its drab as hell jokes. The characters don't express much of their usual personalities, except for Sally's bossiness and Antoine being in turmoil in just about every page. In terms of art, this gets a 2. Let's see, what else can I salvage from this issue and its pages of random jokes? Over here, Sonic eats some wax fruit. But also on the letter page, one of the questions from readers asks if there are trading cards, and I'm going to stop right there because why wasn't there trading cards for this comic? I would have enjoyed that. I think that would have been a good idea considering how many one-off characters there are. So in total, number 5 gets a 3 out of 10. A rather low score for a low-reaching issue. Yep, the banal humour might finally be getting to me. It gets a tad harder to read when every page is just joke after joke after joke. At least the next issue looks a bit more promising, so let's go and take a look at that. Huh, looks like number 6 is a tie-in to Sonic Spinball for the Sega Genesis. I rather like this cover, it's very bombastic. What with the volcano going off and the blue blur going through pinball stuff in a fire, and also not missing out on making another joke. It's also neat that the first game they're adapting is Sonic Spinball, the only game in which the Freedom Fighters actually cameoed in. Right, the Spin Doctor story starts with Sonic and friends rallying together, including Bunny finally. Looks like the gang are finally acting like Freedom Fighters and going to wreck Dr. Robotnik's place. However, instead they find the Big Bad has moved his operations to the setting of Sonic Spinball, and Sonic just zooms on over there. See you other characters, your check's in the mail. Sonic goes over to the place, which is revealed to be an elaborate trap, just so the villain can trap the Hedgehog within a pinball machine. Kind of retreading old ground there, eh, Robotnik? What ensues is pretty much verbatim what goes on in the game. Sonic goes through different layers of the Vego Fortress and fights different threats along the way. At one point, Sonic runs into 2 Mobian Australian stereotypes, kangaroos, named Hip and Hop. They actually help him out because up next is a giant enclosure for killer plants guarding trapped Mobians. Huh, I guess having a giant eerie roboticizer would have been too frightening to draw. Our hero is unable to save them, as instead he just falls into a trap and is bounced back out of the fortress. We just get a cliffhanger ending, because this plot thread never continues, so this whole story was pretty much just a tie into the game and nothing else. The other story is oh, what? A Christmas Carol adaptation, starring Dr. Robotnik as Scrooge? Okay then. I'd find this appropriate for the holidays if this issue wasn't released in fricking October. So, literal penny pincher Scrooge is really stingy and cheap to his employee, Cratchit. However, unlike the original novel, Scrooge's business is shown to be still turning the inhabitants into robots. Yeah, this is very loose, and also a bit funny, just how absurd it is. Scrooge is chilling in his hideout when suddenly his former partner in evil, Snively, appears on TV. Ah, look at that, it's his henchman from the cartoon. Pretty bloody odd that his first appearance in the comic is a non-canon Christmas story, though I guess the Bannock did sort of fill his role beforehand. Anyway, TV ghost Snarly warns Scrooge to change his ways and that he'll be visited by free spirits, but of course he has none of that. What proceeds are the ghosts appearing to torment him, all of them bearing the likeness of Sonic in doofy costumes, and a lot of weird stuff happens. In the past, Tiny Tails is delivered an explosive turkey, but Sonic is able to send it back to Scrooge. What's with all these stories and evil posts? Did an envelope bully the writer when he was young? This plot point doesn't come into play until the very end, where old Scrooge receives it from 4th class. Okay, that's another good joke right there. Scrooge and his future self blow up, and it's revealed to all just be a dream. Ah, my favourite kind of cop-out ending. I'd say the writing is the same as last time. It tries to be a fun romp through familiar levels, right down to getting the exact names of enemies, but I think it gets a bit too familiar. The Freedom Fighters appear at the beginning of the story, all banded together for the first time, but Sonic just buggers off and we're stuck with him snarking at his surroundings for the rest of the journey. It just ends up being pretty boring. The jokes don't quite make the mark either. There's still allusions to pop culture and the like, which can be a bit distracting. I guess kids would find them funny if they got the context. Actually wait, there are a couple of humorous moments in the Christmas Carol that kind of made me chuckle. But other than that, I'm not getting much out of this. I'm simply giving the story a 2. We get a lot of Sonic and Dr. Robotnik in this issue. Nothing much else except them talking at one another. A whole bunch of characters appear in the Christmas Carol story, but they're just there to fill the roles of characters from the novel. In terms of art, Dave Mannek's style is okay, but maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, because the art this time around wasn't very good. Maybe it's the different inker, because some of the characters appear more flat, which just adds to how little their presence is in this issue. Number 6 of the Archie Sonic comics, in terms of art and characters, gets a 2. No extra bits this issue, there's barely anything worth looking at. So, in total, number 6 gets a 4 out of 10. Whew, not too happy about this one either. I hate to critique this stuff to hell and back, but For a comic based on an action cartoon full of relatable characters and motivation, there's very little of that carried over. The newspaper-like structure really gets repetitive, and the puns, man, they really get you when you're trying to look for something worthwhile in these early issues. Well, thank you for watching this video. Next week I'm going to analyse and critique the hell out of number 7 and number 8. Stay tuned. Wait, is that Captain America and Ghost Rider's head?